LiberalViewer presents.
So, the U.S. Supreme Court recently heard oral arguments in a case about whether a chain of craft stores can use religion to justify failing to provide health insurance to employees that includes the required coverage of contraceptive care, which Fox News host Megyn Kelly predictably framed on her show The Kelly File the day before those oral arguments like this.
Up next, a big religious freedom case. Speaking of the Supreme Court, it goes in front of the Supreme Court tomorrow. Judge Napolitano is next with what to expect and how this could change America.
So, Fox News framed this as a case about religious freedom that may change America, even though it's hard to see how a craft store is a religious enterprise, a problem that Jon Stewart satirically addressed in a great segment on The Daily Show that included this clip.
Tell me more about this lobby of hobbies.
Hobby Lobby is a family-run business. Its owners say is based on biblical principles founded 38 years ago by David and Barbara Green.
That's based on biblical principles. I'm a little rusty on the New Testament. Where in the Bible does it mention craft stores? I'm familiar with Jesus, this Jesus, not so much with this Jesus, with the...
But failing to explain the religiosity of a craft store was not the real problem with that Fox News analysis back on The Kelly File, where the host Megyn Kelly is actually a lawyer and her guest, former Judge Andrew Napolitano, is actually Fox News' senior judicial analyst, yet Fox News still ended up broadcasting the incredibly misinformed statement of the issue in the Hobby Lobby case that you can see in this clip.
Whether or not the government can force corporations to pay for contraceptive services for their employees. As everybody knows, the Affordable Care Act requires anybody that employs 50 or more people to provide health care for them that includes contraceptive services. Contraceptive services means contraception, euthanasia, and abortion.
Euthanasia and abortion? Fox News' senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano seemed to pull that euthanasia claim out of nowhere, given that physician-assisted suicide is the only form of euthanasia even legal in the United States, and even that's only legal in a couple states, and the only place the word euthanasia even appears in the Obamacare law is in Section 1553 that specifically prohibits discrimination against health plans not covering physician-assisted suicide. As far as abortion coverage goes, there's a section of the Obamacare law that specifically requires that every health insurance exchange include at least one plan that does not cover abortion, so Andrew Napolitano could not be more wrong. In fact, as I explained in my video, Religions Must Cover Birth Control, a lot of the claims about Obamacare covering abortion, and especially abortion pills, is based on a misunderstanding of how hormonal contraception works, but because this misunderstanding is religious, courts aren't really supposed to question the sincerity of religious beliefs in religious freedom cases, which Jon Stewart satirized back on The Daily Show here.
Contraception is not the same thing as abortion. That's a scientific fact.
The government has to take Hobby Lobby's religious views as they come. So off the table is any question about the accuracy of how Hobby Lobby and another company, Conestoga Wood, view these contraceptives as agents of causing abortion.
So let me get this straight. Corporations aren't just people, they're ill-informed people whose factually incorrect beliefs must be upheld because they sincerely believe them anyway. I guess it's why at Hobby Lobby they feed their 16,000 employees with but 5 loaves and 2 fish. What? The employees are still hungry? They believe you aren't.
Now, as ridiculous as Jon Stewart made it sound there to claim corporations are not just people, but actually ill-informed people with sincerely held religious beliefs that must be upheld, I think there probably are 5 votes on the U.S. Supreme Court for letting for-profit corporations assert religious beliefs, though I also agree with SCOTUS Blog's Lyle Denniston that if Justice Anthony Kennedy ends up writing a compromise opinion, it could find corporations can assert religious beliefs, but also find no burden on religious belief in this case. Or I think the court may just give the for-profit corporations the same less restrictive alternative that non-profit religious groups get, but I want to know what you think. Should for-profit corporations be allowed to claim they have religious beliefs that exempt them from obeying laws that apply to the general public? And whatever you believe personally, will the U.S. Supreme Court find that for-profit corporations have religious beliefs that exempt them from obeying laws that apply to the general public?
YouTube, you decide.